I mean, let me first just say that this is the first time that I'm aware of in United States history that lawyers, policymakers, nonprofit, and nonpartisan organizations like ours have had to get together to think about what will happen and to really plan for what will happen if the president uses the mechanics of the federal government against American voters. We've had some of those fears in the past. Obviously, after 2020, people were afraid about it in 2024, although President Trump wasn't and didn't have control of the DOJ. But this is not normal. And I just want to say that because we'll talk about the things we're planning and preparing for, but this is not normal. But it is important that we not just react to everything and we don't just doom scroll. Our elections in this country are secure. Our elections are administered by the people throughout the United States. The founders had, something in mind that they weren't going to hand over the elections to the president, and that has continued. And so we are just making sure that if the president and this administration tries, as they have already started trying to do, to undermine people's ability to vote, that there is swift legal action happening, but that also people are prepared and that people stay focused. This president doesn't want people to show up and vote. He does not want people to show up and vote. And so what every American needs to do is to make a plan with their community and make sure that they are able to vote. The lawyers are going to have to be in court probably on some of this, but part of it is being able to tune out some of this noise. Let the lawyers worry about what we've got to worry about. Let Congress worry about getting the thing certified, making sure it's free and fair. But people, we've got to show up, and we've got to show up like we've never shown up before. And it's exactly that the president is afraid of.
Can you explain your network of legal counsel around the country? Because there's in northern Michigan, there could be an incident at one particular voting location. In southern Arizona, there could be a lawsuit over the use of Sharpies. In Atlanta, there could be another. Are you guys in touch with legal teams in each state?
Absolutely. There are legal teams, there are lawyers and people across this country that want to make sure that their fellow citizens can vote. This is...
Are you guys coordinated, though?
Absolutely. And so we have on-the-ground teams. There are local lawyers. There are people that do this in their... there are people that do this in their states all the time. They're usually having to fight against state voter suppression or maybe like a vigilante or someone that's trying to prevent people from voting. They may not have to be also worried about the White House, but then you have large national organizations, nonpartisan pro-voting organizations. And then don't forget, you have the candidates in the political parties. And so these candidates are getting lawyered up too, is my understanding. And so that's kind of what that legal operation looks like. You have state and local officials that have a lot of authority and a lot of things they can do, a lot of information they can provide. So all of that is being coordinated in this extraordinary time, truly.
I think I just have a comment because I think that what's happening this midterm election season is actually very different than what we experienced the last time everyone was very concerned, and this was in 2020. I worked on the Biden campaign in 2020. We knew he was going to say he won the election, and he did. At 2:20 a.m., he went to the East Room in the White House, the president, Donald Trump, and said, he won the election, and went on to talk about voter fraud and fraud that he thought was happening. He did this even though millions of ballots were still being counted, and those ballots were legally cast. The difference between then and this fall is that it is not just going to be the job of one other campaign to combat what this one other campaign is saying. To Von's point, it is very disparate. There's thousands of campaigns from state legislative races to House races, gubernatorial races. The Senate and state Senate, this is like... I'm very concerned because I feel like the legal community has all their ducks in a row. Okay, I talk to a lot of the legal people. Every time I'm like, the legal people know what they're doing. But before we got to those 60 legal challenges in 2020, there was Donald Trump attempting to arrest the narrative. And it was the job of, it was him versus us arresting the narrative for about a week. How is that happening?
I think this is a mess for the president. I mean, the president started trying to frame the narrative up. His speech went terribly. Republicans, as we understand it, they're upset that he went to television. This is deeply unpopular with the American people. And so I think that the people that want to ensure that the American people are able to vote, which is, not the president, not some of his closest allies, I do think that they have an upper hand on the narrative. And part of this is about staying focused. Now, where Donald Trump knows how to try to shift the narrative is to scare people. is to send in surges, to announce that he's going to do certain things to people that he doesn't have the authority to do. But all of this is that noise to try to get people not to show up. And I think that is the real hard work that is happening in communities across this country, including, by the way, in red communities like the community I grew up in. You have people, they are very concerned about wanting to make sure that their fellow citizens can vote. They're upset with this president. And so I think that is the real, that community building work that we see happening.